My name is Josh, and today I want to tell you about fair dealings as it applies to the Copyright Act of Canada, and in particular, as it applies to teachers and instructors. Why is fair dealings important? Well, first of all, let me tell you that fair dealings is a series of statutory exceptions to the Copyright Act of Canada that attempts to balance the rights of authors and creators with those of users of copyrighted material. So as teachers and instructors, we are surrounded by copyrighted material and often find ourselves in a position of wishing to share such material to enhance learning for students and enrich curriculum we deliver. And we wish to do this in a lawful manner. So as users, we need to be aware of copyrighted material and how the law applies to our use of this material. And this is where fair dealings comes into play. My hope is that by describing various interpretations and guidelines, that the idea of fair dealings and how it may apply to you will become clear. For as the Supreme Court Justice stated in the 1972 case of Hubbard versus Vosper, fair dealings is near impossible to accurately define and must be assessed case by case. So I want to start with the dealings portion of fair dealings. The law, as of 2012, when the Copy Modernization Act was made law, recognizes certain uses of copyright material as potentially lawful, such as research, satire, private study, criticism, parody, review, news reporting, and perhaps most importantly for us, education. These constitute the basic dealings. So one may, for example, use a short excerpt from an original work, copyrighted work, to further research. One may also, for example, directly reference original work for the basis of original satire or criticism. As well, one may use copyrighted material in a lesson. The Camosun College Fair Dealings Guideline describes a short excerpt as approximately 10% of a piece of work, a chapter from a book, an article from a periodical, or a complete drawing or poem. These are all considered dealings and appropriate use of copyrighted material if done in a fair manner. So what is fair? Well, the law recognizes that the freedom of expression in Canada, as outlined in our Charter of Rights and Freedoms, must be given a large and liberal interpretation in order to ensure users' rights are not unduly constrained. And in fact, this is why fair dealings is also known as users' rights. So the court identified fair by considering 6 criteria. So the first, what is the purpose of the dealings? Why does this activity take place? Why was the copyrighted material used? What was the purpose? If it's to make money, this is definitely leaning towards unfair. But if it is to educate, this is definitely leaning towards fair. Okay, so purpose. Second, character of the dealing. So quantity of copies that are widely disseminated, right, may be considered unfair, whereas 1 copy per student, or perhaps content available on a password-protected online learning platform like Moodle or D2L, would definitely lean towards fair. Okay, thirdly, the amount of the dealings. Is it reasonable? This can be quite broad, but copying an entire photo would be considered fair, while an entire essay may not. Okay. Alternatives. So the fourth idea is alternatives. Are there non-copyrighted material that would suffice? If so, choosing to use copyrighted material may be deemed unfair. Fifthly, what is the nature of the work? The original work, was it published? Was it unpublished? Is it confidential? Is it non-confidential? So for example, if something is unpublished, it may be seen as fair if the dealings result in wider dissemination. But if it is perhaps confidential, this may tip the scales towards unfair. And finally, what are the effects of the dealing? Will it be in competition with the original? If this is so, this may lean towards unfair. Although, typically the burden of proof in this kind of situation would be on the plaintiff, that they would have to prove to the court that the auxiliary work, the use of the copyrighted material, meant that income or dissemination of the original work would suffer. Okay, so what can you do? Well, often schools and colleges provide guidelines and outline best practices and tips to help us assess our use of copyrighted material. As well, there are many reliable and comprehensive sources online explain fair dealings. So fair dealings balance the rights of the creators of copyrighted material with the rights of the users, with the intention to foster the careful promotion of the truth. Okay, fair dealings. Thank you very much.